Hello class, today we're looking at solving multi-step word problems. So how do I solve word problems is the essential question. Your learning intention: I'm learning to write equations for and solve word problems. So there are two warm-ups, both of them are about slope. Can you find the slope between the 2 points, and can you find the slope from the graph? Pause the video and see if you can do that. If you can do that on your own, then you know you understand the concept. So please pause the video now. Well, I do hope you tried to do it on your own. Remember, the formula for finding slope is the change in y, delta y over delta x. The change in y over the change in x. It's a fraction. We have to know which is our x value and which is our y value. Does it matter which point we start with? No, because the slope will not change. So 18 minus negative 6. You notice even though the 6 is negative, we still subtract. Over 7 minus 3. Now you might have had it negative 6 minus 18, and that would be fine. Over 3 minus 7. You'll still get the same slope. So 18 minus a negative 6. We don't minus the negative, we plus the positive. 18 plus 6 is 24. 7 minus 3 is 4. 24 divided by 4 is 6. So our slope is 6. For the next one on the graph, you have to find where the graph intersects the corner of a box. They've kind of got it marked for you, although it's not really easy to see on this picture. So if these 2 points match up, then I'm looking for that right triangle. This is based off of Pythagorean's theorem. So for this, in this case, it is rise over run. I go up 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes. I go right 1, 2 boxes. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So we're learning how to find slope, and we will continue working on it until you get very good at it, very proficient at it. So with word problems, the first step is to always read it. Then second step is to read and highlight the important words. Third step is to create your equation. A batting machine uses an automatic feeder. During baseball practice, the feeder is 1/6 full. An attendant fills it with 6 more balls in an hour. Then the feeder is 2/3 full. How many balls does the feeder hold when it is full? So, during baseball practice, the feeder is 1/6 full. An attendant fills it with 15 more balls. Remember, more means I'm going to add. Then the feeder is 2/3 full. Okay, how many when it's full? So what do you start with? Well, what's our variable and what does it mean? Well, we could use B for number of balls. Okay, so you start off with 1/6 of them. We don't know how many, but it's 1/6 B. Then we add 15 more. then it is 2/3 full. So that's 2/3 the number of balls. So how do I solve this? Well, even though there are fractions, you still solve it the same way. We've got to get the variables to the same side. This is a positive 1/6, so I'm going to subtract 1/6b from both sides. Okay, now we see a problem because we do not have the same denominator. So 6 and 3 are my denominators. I know that 2 times 3 gives me 6. So I can convert 2 over 3 to something over 6. Three times 2 is 6. 2 times 2 is 4. So I know that 2/3 is the same number as 4 over 6. Okay, I've eliminated it from this side. 15 is equal to, remember this is 4 over 6. 4 over 6 minus 1 over 6 is 3 over 6. 3 over 6 is also 1/2. So 15 is equal to 1/2 of the number of balls. What do I do to get rid of the 1/2? I multiply by the reciprocal. The reciprocal is 2 over 1, or simply 2. So I'll multiply by 2 on both sides. 30 is equal to b. But what does that mean? Well, it means the feeder will hold a total of 30 balls. So, when it's completely full, that feeder will hold 30 balls. Okay, so Claire. Claire follows the same workout schedule each time she goes to the gym. First, she runs for 1/3 of an hour. Then she lifts weights for 1/6 of an hour. If Claire has 1 1/2 hours to spend at the gym, how many times can she repeat the cycle? Well, how long does it take her for one cycle is a good question. Claire follows the same workout schedule each time she goes to the gym. First, she runs for 1/3 of an hour. Then she lifts weights for 1/6 of an hour. If she has 1 1/2 hours to spend at the gym, how many times can she repeat the cycle? So if we're looking at this, 1/6 of an hour, what are we going to use for our variable? We could use C for cycles. So she's got 1/3 here, 1/6 here. We have to combine them. So 1/3 C plus 1/6 C equals once again, we look and we've got to have that same denominator. So 1/3, we're going to change 1/3 into 6. I multiply top and bottom by 2. And I get 2 over 6. Okay, so this is 2 plus 3, 1 gives me 3. So we get 1/2 C. So each time it takes her 1/2 of an hour to go to complete one cycle. So if she's got an hour and a half, how many halves is that? So I'm going to take 2 times 1 plus 1. That's over 2. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3, so 3 halves. How many times will 1/2 go into 3 halves? So we're looking at 3 halves divided by 1/2. But we know that we can't divide by a fraction. We multiply by that reciprocal. So we get 3 over 2 times 2 over 1, and that gives me 3. But what does that mean? That means that Claire can complete 3 cycles. So she can complete 3 cycles each time she goes to the gym. I'm having trouble with my spelling today. So 1/3 of an hour plus 1/6 of an hour gives me 1/2 of an hour. I've got a total of 3 halves of an hour. So I take the 3 halves, divide it by 1/2, which we don't do with fractions. Instead, we multiply by the reciprocal, and I get 3. That means that Claire can complete 3 cycles each time she works out. Edwin has 3.5 gallons of green paint. He uses 2/3 of the paint to paint his bathroom. He uses the rest of the paint to paint a mural for the garage. How much paint did Edwin use for the mural? So if we're looking at this, he has a total of 3.5 gallons. He uses 2/3 of the paint to paint his bathroom. So how much paint did he use for the mural? We're wanting to know what is left after you use 2/3. Well, the whole thing would be 1. One minus 2/3. Well, 1 is 3 over 3. 3 over 3 minus 2 over 3 means I've got 1/3 left. 1/3 of the paint is left. So I'm starting out with 3.5 gallons. 1/3's left. So if I take 3.5 and multiply by 1/3, I will get the answer. Okay, but first let's convert 3 1/2 into a fraction. Remember, we multiply and then we add. So 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 more is 7. 7 over 2 times 1 over 3 gives me, this time when we multiply, we don't have to worry about the denominators. We just multiply straight across. 7 times 1 is 7 over 2 times 3 is 6. Okay, what is 7 over 6 as a number with a fraction? Well, it would be 6 over 6 plus 1 over 6. Well, 6 over 6 is 1, so this is 1 and 1/6. What does it mean? It means that Edwin has 1 1/6 gallons of green paint left. So he should be able to make a fairly good-sized mural in his garage. Okay, Wendy jogs a 5.5 mile route in the city with her jogging club once a week. She also jogs a nature trail near her home once a week. The nature trail is 1.5 times as long as the route in the city. How many miles does she jog each week? So she starts out each week jogging 5.5 miles with her friends. Then she jogs the nature trail that is 1.5 times as long as the route. So remember, this will be multiplication. Times is another word for multiplying. And we want to know the miles she jogs each week. So what do we start with? Well, we start with what happens first. First, she jogs the 5.5 miles. That's first. Plus, later she jogs the nature trail, which is that 5.5 times 1.5. Okay, so I have to know what this number is. 5.5 times 1.5. 5 times 5 is 25. Carry the 2. 5 times 5 is 25, plus 2 is 27. Now, put my 0 for a placeholder. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 5 is 5. So, add them together. 5, bring your decimal down. 7 plus 5 is 2. Carry a 1. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 5 is 8. 5.5 plus 8.25 is equal to, I got my decimal off here, doesn't make any sense to be 82 when I'm only multiplying it by 1 1/2. So 8.25 plus 5.5, put my 0 for a placeholder, 5, 7, bring it down, 8 plus 5 is 13. So I get 13.75. What does it mean? It means she jogs 13 3/4 of a mile each week. Okay, bring that over so you can see it better. Hello there, class. We're looking at the last word problem now. As we're looking at the word problem, we see that Ellie works in the produce section at a grocery store. The store receives a shipment of red and green apples that weighs 20.4 pounds in total. Ellie separates the green and the red apples into bins by color. If the red apples make up 1/4 of the shipment, how many pounds of apples are green? So, she works in the produce section, and they receive red and green apples that weigh 20.4 pounds in total. 1/4 of them are red. So how many pounds are green? Okay, so as we're thinking about this, there's different ways we can do it. We can figure out what 1/4 of the total is and subtract it from the total. Or we can think, if 1/4 are red, what fraction are green? So if we take 1 minus 1/4, which are the red ones, then we end up with 3/4 of the total being green. So we know the total is 20.4 pounds. What is 3/4 of 20.4? So 20.4 times 3/4. Okay, if I'm looking at this, I know that 4 will go in here evenly. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. 20.4 divided by 4 is 5.1. How did I do that so quickly? Well, 20 divided by 4 is 5, 0.4 divided by 4 is 0.1. So now I have a much easier problem to work with. So this is 5.1 times 3. Okay, so three times 1 is 3. Bring your decimal down. 3 times 5 is 15. So we've got 15.3. But what does that mean? Well, that means that 15.3 pounds of the apples are green. There are 15.3 pounds. I'm going to spell it out instead of doing the shortcut there. Of green apples. Okay, how do you know you're successful? You know you're successful when you can write equations for and solve word problems. So this is still solving word problems.